interesting. The other applications, I think I read that property here one time, didn't I? 6801. 6801 Bristol Pike. Isn't that the other thing on today's agenda? Gonna be self-storage. I did. I was wondering where the one. Oh, are we going? I'm so sorry.
Well, that was a test. Well, good evening, everyone. I'm opening the meeting of the Bristol Township Planning Commission. I want to welcome our viewing audience, those in attendance, and if you would kindly stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I'm going to ask you to remain standing, to keep in mind our troops who are in harm's way, our prisoners of war, our killed in action, our missing in action, all the children who have been separated from their parents, for those who are suffering that nasty war in Ukraine, any personal intentions you may have. Thank you very much. So, Commissioners, the first item on our agenda is the consideration of the May 2nd, 2023 Planning Commission meeting minutes. Commissioners, you do have copies of those minutes. You've had an opportunity to review them. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved in second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you, Commissioners. The first item on our agenda is a zoning change petition. And I certainly hope I'm going to get this right. For Pervini Shakia Group LLC. Am I close?
Not really.
Okay. Well, that's why you're here, so you can correct me.
He didn't beat around the bush. He said no.
And that is for 400 West at 400 West Franklin Street, Suite 300, Baltimore, Maryland, requesting a zoning change from M-1 light manufacturing to C commercial on the property located at 6801 Bristol Pike, Levittown, PA. Tax parcels number 5-74-92 and 5-74-93. And I will tell you, I really tried.
I can tell. And you know, it's okay because I've been dealing with this, I think, a little bit longer than the Planning Commission. So I had the same issue, but I've been corrected. So now I'm good.
Okay.
So Bryce McGuigan from Begley Carlin here tonight representing the Paverini Shake Group LLC. In-house, we call them PSG for, I think, obvious reasons.
And that was Bryce?
Bryce with a Y. So good evening, Commission. Thank you for having us here tonight. Bob, can you do me a favor and the exhibit for me? Thanks. So we're here for 6801 Bristol Pike. The property itself consists of two parcels. Together they make up about 2.38 acres. The parcels are split zoned, commercial and M1, and they're presently home to Keith's Automotive. Now we're here today to seek recommended approval for a zoning change of the property from this split zoned M1 commercial to just straight commercial.
So
And
Bryce, do you happen to have a pointer?
Oh,
Great. So as you're addressing
Yeah.
that, if you don't mind pointing, so our viewing audience can see what you're talking about.
Not at all. More than happy to help. So if this seems familiar to the commission, it should, because a colleague of mine was here a couple months ago to seek recommended approval for the land development phase of the application. Essentially, just to kind of go through it, just for our viewing audience as well, this here is the plan for the project. What our proposal is, as far as the development of the property goes, is, like I said, there is currently an automotive facility there. We're going to remove that and instead propose a 3-story modern storage facility that's going to cover both parcels here. So the back parcel kind of ends right where I'm showing you here, and the main parcel is this one here, which ends in, I believe, the main parcel is 574.92, and the side parcel towards the back is 93. And like I said, we're not here for the land development phase. The commission's already recommended approval of that, and that is, from what we understand, going to be scheduled before council shortly. This is for the zoning change, which we've represented to the commission that we were going to be moving forward with. We previously received zoning relief for this project, which was all conditioned upon us moving forward with the zoning change. And essentially, Bob, if we can go to the second page for me. I just thought this would be helpful visually for the commission. So if we look here, this was taken from the Bucks County parcel viewer. And it's a little difficult to see, but this shows the actual layout of the parcels, and it shows the current zoning. So everything that you see in dark purple is M1, light purple is M2. Yellow is residential, and this big red one, that's commercial. The properties at issue today, we have the 92 parcel, which is commercially zoned, and I'm rimming it right here with the laser pointer, and I'm tracing the second parcel, -93, with the laser pointer right now, and that's zoned M1. So the conclusion of this land development, these parcels will together be one parcel, and they'll be zoned commercial together with all the remaining parcels all along Bristol Pike. So the goal, I mean, as you can see, it's kind of a little messy in terms of zoning in the various districts, and I can tell you from firsthand experience that you're going to be seeing another zoning change petition coming through. That's going to be filed by PSG's neighbors across Sylvia Ave to rezone a bunch of these little movie theater lots to be, I believe, M2. So that's going to be coming down the pike soon. Separate project, separate applicant. You might be seeing me for that one as well. But like I said, for this one, it's just kind of trying to button things up, dot our I's, cross our T's with respect to the land development that the commission's already seen and approved. I have here tonight with me Greg Serino, who is a member of PSG. He's the representative here today. If I know the commission's heard from him a couple months back, everything he said then still remains true. We're just, like I said, here to make sure to dot our I's and cross our T's. I think that's the most apt way to describe this. If the commission has any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them from a legal perspective, and obviously my client's here for anything practical, and if the commission needs anything, needs any points of clarification from what was presented previously. But
Thank you, Bryce.
otherwise, that's the presentation. Thank you very
Thank
much
you.
for your time.
Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. Do you have any questions or comments? Hearing none. Do I have any comments or questions from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So I'm going to ask if you'll please come to the podium, identify yourself for the record, and good evening. How are you?
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to ask my questions. I'm Joan Termina. I live at 6811 Sylvia Avenue. I came in, I don't know where the laser pointer is, but for purposes, the gentleman was talking about the purple lots.
Yes.
What are they zoned? These lots here? This is Airport Road, I'm assuming, correct?
So that is Sylvie.
Okay, Sylvie. yes.
Sylvie. So if you look here, and I'm going to throw. So this here is Sylvie Ave, which is not all opened. It stops right around here or so.
Right.
Actually, maybe up a little further. The light purple, so there's two shades of purple. So this type is a little darker. That's zoned M1, which is heavy manufacturing. M2 is a slightly heavier manufacturing district. That's these properties together with across Bristol Pike. The red is commercial. And what we're talking about here is this is the principal lot where the majority of the development is going to go. But part of the building is going to be on this lot here as well, which is zoned M1 heavy manufacturing.
Okay. Well, I have recently looked at who owns every lot there. I can tell you who owns every lot, which ones Mr. Simon owns, back to who owns all the front lots in the commercial down to Edgeley Road. And when I look at the zoning map, it says residential. All the lots that Simon owns says residential. Where are you getting that they're M2?
So I think we're going to have to stop at this point. You're going to have to address this commission.
Okay.
And any questions that got to do with that, then he'll be able to come back to the podium and respond to your questions. And also, we have our people at this table over here who certainly can interject to answering any of those questions, so.
Okay,
Sure. So to address that, the yellow sliver up there is residential. And this is a blown up version. You'll see the residential goes back a little further as far as across Sylvie Avenue. So like I said, it's only opened till right about this part. The rest is unopened. It's just vacant grassland and woodlands, more or less. And then you have some residential up there. The residential does not really touch this area. The closest it gets is right here on this little corner. All right. So what we're trying to rezone, it honestly, the whole project relates to these two parcels, but what we're here for today is essentially just this parcel here, just the smaller one. That's going to become red, match the rest, and it makes sense because the entirety of our development is going to be one parcel. We're going from 2 to 1, so you don't want it split zoned. It's kind of a little sloppy, and we have to go back, get more zoning relief. Whereas here, what we do is we just make it more uniform with the surrounding parcels, especially the neighboring parcels.
Okay, thank you, Bryce, and thank you very much for your question. Any other questions or comments? Yes, sir. Please step up to the microphone, identify yourself.
Steve Termina, Sylvia Avenue. That's my wife. My question is actually for you all. We've come to several meetings, voiced our concerns about this, talked to these gentlemen about what they want to do and how they're going to do it, and they're planning on putting a driveway, in and out driveway, right across the street from my house. We've gone over this many times, and there is not enough room for in and out traffic all day long on that street. So my question to you all is, if you approve this, which you guys seem to approve pretty much everything, if there's a problem down the road, where do we go from there?
Well, thank you for that comment, and I'll certainly be glad to answer that.
Okay.
This is a recommending committee.
Okay.
So we can certainly approve or recommend to council that they approve whatever the project is. And they can also reject it.
Okay.
So if you have concerns about what's going to happen after it leaves here,
Right.
you can always attend the council meetings when this
have.
comes up in front of them
have.
and present the same information to them. And they're the decision-making body. They're the ones that will say, yes, it's going to happen, or no, it's not, or if it's going to change.
Okay. I don't know if you recall me or my wife or
We
my
did.
neighbors coming up with this problem, but as you see the project right now, does it seem feasible to you, or do you think it needs to be a little tweaked?
Well, again, we're looking at what's presented to us, and from the way things have been, presented to us. And I can only speak for, as the chair of this committee. Each one of our commissioners here have their own opinions. So when we discuss this, we make a decision between us, majority rules. That's how we work. But regardless of what we feel and what our, concerns are about this, whatever decision we make to recommend to council to either approve, disapprove, or change, council can change all of that. So what we think about it really doesn't have the final impact on what's really going to happen.
Okay, so given the information that you've all gotten so far, and I presume you're familiar with the site, what are your feelings on what we have told you and what they have told you?
I can interject on that one if you'd like.
Sure.
Again, we look at everything on paper. We look at what they're presenting to us. The numbers are in order. We have ordinances, we have variances that we go by. Nothing seems out of the ordinary. Nothing that goes, oh, that doesn't fit, that goes against what our ordinance are. Everything looks great on paper. And at the site, it looks great as well. Again, We just look at the evidence that is brought to us. We make a decision. We don't have the final say. Everybody has their opinion on what the project is, and their opinions might be different because I understand that you do live right across from what is being constructed, and that can have a different opinion than what the committee has. But we just take into consideration what is brought to us. We make a decision. It goes to council, pardon me. Like we said, we recommend it. We don't have the final say.
So my question though to you is, if yous all recall what has been stated previous with this driveway being proposed to be right across the street from my driveway. Do you think that's okay? That's feasible? It's okay?
So I think what I'm going to do is kind of,
May I interject to try and solve this thing? We're not here to discuss the driveway. We're here to discuss whether that plot of land can be commercial, and we have to discuss that at the next council
because that's
meeting.
what's put in front of us.
Right.
And
I understand.
if I remember correctly, we had this discussion too when you were here before.
We did.
So right now, it's kind of redundant because the decision we made the first time was with the evidence that was provided to us, and we'll certainly make another decision here. Your best case scenario to try to change anything is when this does get presented to council by the applicants, and you
Okay.
can give them your opinion,
Okay,
okay?
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
And if I may, just to perhaps address some of the concerns before council, your home, is that right here where I'm pointing?
Probably right in around there, yeah.
Yeah? All right, so the property that we're here to rezone today, that's this little purple one. Oh, sorry, Bob. All right, yes, that's the purple one right here. So the property right across from your home, which again, I believe is right, this particular parcel, that's already commercial. And there's a variety of different uses that could come into play immediately if my clients weren't purchasing the property. Restaurant, retail store, a more bustling garage, contractor shop, that sort of thing. So one of the strengths of this project, which is not before council right now, is the fact it's low impact, low traffic, not a lot of people coming in and out. So that's something that, again, is going to be more so before council, likely later this month. But for now, I just wanted to point out that this particular property, we're not asking the planning commission to do anything regarding that big property right across from you. That's going to stay as is. The zoning changes just for the small one next door.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the audience? Bob, do you have anything? Kurt? Sam? Okay. Commissioners, you've heard the presentation. You've heard the pros and cons of the thoughts of this application. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make that motion. To recommend to council the zoning change petition of Paverny Shake. Group LLC, 400 West Franklin Street, Suite 300, Baltimore, Maryland, requesting zoning change from M1 Light Manufacturing to C Commercial on the property located at 6801 Bristol Pike, Levittown, PA, tax parcel number 5-74-92 and 5-74-93.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved and second. Are there any comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is land development. This is for STD Associates LP, 1027 Conshohocken Road, Conshohocken, PA, requesting preliminary and final land development approval in order to construct 2 warehouse buildings on the property located at 805 North Wilson Avenue, Bristol, tax parcel number 5-73-120, in an M-1 light manufacturing and M-2 heavy manufacturing zone districts of Bristol Township. Good evening.
Evening. Good evening. Amy Farrell with Kaplan Stewart. We are the attorneys for the applicant. I think the chair just pretty much summarized the the entire project. You did my job for me there. We are here tonight as was indicated in connection with the preliminary final land development application related to this project. I think that you saw this last fall in connection with the sketch plan that was submitted. I believe my partner Greg Edelman was before you at that time. The project has not changed in any substantial way. We're just in now for the land development component, so it's been more fully engineered. We've been through that process and are looking to head on to council shortly. The overall, just as a sort of general snapshot, and you can see up on the screen the proposal. This is a site that is just under 25 acres. It's 24.74 acres. It is currently developed for industrial and manufacturing uses and will continue to be so under the redevelopment. This is just an opportunity for us to take a site that has become somewhat outdated and provide a new and more contemporary facilities on site. So the proposal would be to ultimately to remove the 2 existing warehouse facilities that are on site, excuse me, and to construct 2 new warehouse facilities in their place. This is a by right plan. There is no zoning relief required here. Not only are the uses permitted, but we meet all dimensional and bulk requirements of the zoning ordinance, which I think you're all pretty familiar with. Is no easy feat generally, so kudos to the engineers for making that work. We do have a review letter from the township engineer, and I have with me this evening CJ Bach from Land Corps, who is the applicant's engineer, certainly can answer any specific questions that the commission may have. We'll leave it to you if you'd rather we go through the review letter one by one, or how you'd like to do that.
Well, I'm sure normally the question comes right up about, is everything short of your review request, you are will comply?
We will comply as to
Okay,
everything, yes.
so we're going to ask you to go through your waiver request. Please identify the numbers of each one of those waivers for the record.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask CJ to go ahead and do that because he
That's
drafted that
fine.
letter and has the justifications
Come on,
for
don't
it.
fight over it, guys.
Right here. Okay, our
So
waivers.
good evening, I'm going to ask you your name again for the
Sure.
record.
CJ Bach. I work with Land Corps Engineering.
Is that B-O-C-K?
B-O-C-K. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Okay, CJ, you're on.
I can't see close with the glasses, so forgive me. I'm going to take the glasses off. Our waivers begin with 177-14.E. Waiver to request to permit concurrent preliminary final land development approval based on similar requirements for those plan approvals. Waiver number 2, section 177-43.A. Waiver request to not install sidewalks on Wilson or Wood Avenue. There are currently no sidewalks on either, and there's really no appreciable frontage on Wood Avenue. If I could, Wood Avenue kind of, I'm sorry, Wood Avenue's over here. Wilson Avenue just kind of dead ends into the site. So there's really not a frontage per se to install a sidewalk. Nor do we think that dead end road would warrant, having a segment of sidewalk anywhere in that frontage area. A waiver request, section 177-45A.A. Waiver requested to not install curbing on Wilson or Wood Avenue. Similar to the sidewalk, there is no current curb there now. Number 4, section 177-48.D.3. Waiver requested to permit edges of slopes to be within 5 feet of the property line or right-of-way line or streets. And this is to permit us to construct improvements in and around the property line, namely the driveway. Waiver to permit section 177-55.L. Waiver to permit loading berth of 13.5 feet where 14 feet is required. Our use in architecture is working with users that want 13.5 foot wide berths. So it's just kind of a function of our building architecture, that's how wide they are. Number 6 is section 177-91.A.1 1 and Section 177-92.A.1. Waiver to permit a drawing scale of 1 inch equals 40 feet, whereas 50 feet was used. A waiver is being requested, 50 is required, we used 40 to improve our plan clarity, namely in the enlargements, which you see the south side enlargement here. Waiver to permit and the last one here, so number 7, Section 177-91.C.3 and Section 177-92.C.3. Waiver to permit the use of an aerial photograph to satisfy the requirements of the location, names, and widths of streets, the location and names of railroads and sanitary sewers, storm drains, waste mains, culverts, petroleum and petroleum product lines, et cetera, within 200 feet of the property. We typically would provide an aerial to satisfy the interest in those elements within that proximity.
Thank you, CJ.
Sure.
And I did
Commissioner,
I did just want to
Oh,
note,
by
sorry,
all
there,
means.
just for clarity, the Township Engineers Review Letter does identify one additional waiver that they believe is necessary from 177-49D, which has to do with permitting pavement within a utility easement area where the ordinance would otherwise require that all utility easements be grass.
it was 177-49D.
49D. Yep. And that's on page 4, comment 9 of the Township Engineers Review Letter.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
Okay. Commissioners, you've heard the presentation of the applicant. I would entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion. In regards to land development, STD Associates LP, 1027 Conshohocken Road, Conshohocken, PA, requesting preliminary and final land development approval in order to construct 2 warehouse buildings on the property located at 805 North Wilson Avenue, Bristol, tax parcel number 5-73-120, in M1 light manufacturing and M2 heavy manufacturing zone districts of Bristol Township. We would recommend to council to approve that land development with the following notes. That May 15th, Gilmore and Associates letter is a will comply with the exception of one waiver request, which would be 177-49.D. which was not listed on the previous waiver request letter. So we would add that on, and then everything from the 3/31/23 Realty Source letter to be considered as a waiver.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's moved in second. Are there any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Good luck.
Thank you.
Having nothing else on our agenda this evening, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
It's been moved in second. Comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.